Thank you, Doug. All right, folks. So I'm Kate Terhune, big fan of Taylor Swift, obviously. Super excited to talk to you guys. Lots of content to jump into, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. If you don't mind going through a quick intro, who are you? What do you do?
Hi, my name is Evan. I am the Programmatic Partnerships and Product Development Director at Horizon Media. So I own all partnerships that are related to product, to programmatic, and help productize some of those partnerships for our internal teams.
Hi everyone, my name is Art Binder, Director of Programmatic at Assembly. I oversee a team that handles a very wide range of clients and cross verticals, and that keeps things interesting all the time.
Yeah, hello, I'm Nick Morticelli, Strategy and Partnerships Biddable Manager. I handle our relationships with our DSPs and SSPs.
Awesome. Okay, so Art, how about you start us off with this question? Talking about the foundations of what makes a good program run, what are those foundational elements that are needed for a good, solid programmatic strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a big fan of analogies, and one that I think works well here is think of it as your home and the rooms of your home. And let's take the bathroom, arguably one of the most underrated rooms in your home. It's a solitary place. It's where you get yourself ready and set up for success, but there's also a lot of crap in there. And so you'll focus on the crap for a moment, right? So that, to correlate that to the media world, right? That is your tool sets for brand suitability, your brand controls. It's your project management tools. It's all these tools that are overlooked, right? The brand suitability, like you think of it as to connect it to the previous conversation, it's almost like an insurance plan. You check the box, but you never really dig into it and look close enough at what's the T's and C's and small print of your insurance packs. So those are fundamentals, and they're being overlooked. And I'd say that start there as a focus point to make sure that you're set up for success.
I would say understanding who your partners are that you're working with, everything from the platforms to your supply to the partners on your plan, understanding who they are and why you're adding them in for a foundation.
Yeah, and I think just taking a beat and just understanding your roles and responsibilities within your teams and making sure you have a point of collaboration to bring this all together.
Okay, so talk to me about that piece in particular. When you are thinking about collaborating and working across teams, how do you establish kind of a baseline level of trust with the people that you're working with? Nick?
Transparency. You should be all working towards the same client goals, but it really is taking the time out of your day. We're all spread thin to have a connection and take that 15 minutes and really understand what is your colleague trying to achieve, what are you trying to achieve, and then ultimately it should lead to achieving what you want for the client.
And talking about that foundational element, maybe not the bathroom, when you're thinking about setting up the KPIs and the objectives, how much effort do you put into kind of setting your goals up among your partners, and what are some maybe signals that you've got it right, or on the contrary, how do you know if you've got it wrong?
Yeah, listen, I think it's the question around effort. It doesn't have to be a lot of effort, but you have to be willing to ask the right questions, and some of them could be simple questions, and some of them can be more challenging ones. But you have to know to ask those questions, and I think that's when I work with my teams, right? There is no such thing as feeling ignorant around a question that you don't understand, and there's ask that question if it doesn't, and go down that rabbit hole. Use all these media terms. Go down, open the Pandora's box. Go down the rabbit hole. Do it, right?
Evan, how do you evaluate and manage teamwork across partners. And talk to me about all the variety of partners that you could potentially be working with, from DSPs, SSPs, publishers, you name it.
Well, we work with all of them. So I think there's a few things. In terms of evaluating, we have to make sure we understand what we're looking for, and we are a big fan of RFIs in our house, so we're always sending out RFIs to start off with, getting the same information from everybody, making sure that we're understanding how we're looking to evaluate all the different partners, and also giving them that feedback and making sure they understand where they are sitting across the marketplace from their peers and how we're looking at their positioning, making sure that we then work with all of them to let them know transparently what our goals are, what we need, what our clients need, so that way they can get back to us and give a better effort to customize whatever they have going on, or take a chance to adapt what they're doing to what our needs are.
Okay, great. Same question, Nick, for you, from an internal perspective. How are you evaluating your internal partners? How are you making sure you're all on the same page, not stepping on each other's toes with the unique structure that your team has?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of collaboration. We're having a lot of internal meetings, making sure, from a manager perspective, that our teams are able to work towards the same goal. But it really just boils down to collaboration and being open to it and talking to your different teams, which is easier said than done.
So some constant collaboration is needed, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, tons of collaboration.
It's similar to what we just heard, right? With Glenn from Covered California, you kind of have to have the baseline of here's what we're doing, here's what we're going after, and let's check at every stage along the way, all the way until the point where you get to the board presentation. You're all on the same page. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more tactically. I want to hear some of your opinions on what's the most overlooked levers in a programmatic campaign. Is it tech, is it talent, or is it timing? Evan, you want to take that one?
Happy to. I think it's a balance. I think here we feel you need to be given the time to allow you to not only optimize internally, allow the machine learning to take hold, but also work with your partners to see what levers you can pull and really exhaust all options. I think talent is tremendously underrated because there is really something to the human element of people thinking of the solution that is something that previously was not thought of before, or really challenging our partners and challenging our clients to think differently, and using that information and being a little bit relentless in that education to push the results that we're trying to see.
Yeah, for me, when I have these conversations with my team, I think I try to stress that it's important to balance and distribute the accountability, and that we as the buying team don't need to be solely responsible for every component, right? Our partners should have some skin in the game and should also take some responsibility. And so what that entails is finding the time to reach out to them and say, like, what do you need for you guys to be overlooking the buy yourselves? Do you need us to set you up with reporting? Do you need, like, what cadence can we get some feedback from stuff that you can see on your end that we might not be able to see from the DSP end? And ultimately, like, put some skin in the game. We've got KPIs that we've got to hit. You're saying, whether it's supply or your data, you're saying that you being the partner, saying that our supply is better than the rest, our data is better than the rest. Put some money to that, right? And perhaps say, like, if we're not hitting our KPI and we're working at this together, what can we get in return? Perhaps some added value spend, right? Don't be afraid to ask those questions. You'll be surprised at how many will come back and say, all right, well, if we don't hit your KPI, we'll reinvest 10% back.
I think for me, it definitely is timing. Working with a lot of pharma clients, we want to make sure that people are receiving that message right before they go to a doctor. The HCP's seeing that when they're writing their prescriptions. So I think in the vertical, it's definitely timing for me.
Okay, and talk to us a little bit about the timing piece. How do you ensure when you're, in the planning phase and you are working on, I'm assuming it's a little bit of a longer lead time with the pharma clients?
Yeah.
Talk to us about an average lead time for what you're working on in your space, Nick.
Yeah, so it definitely depends on the specific medication, but we always have a full funnel effect where that either the doctor or patient is getting that message, before the appointment. Then we have a ton of point of care media that runs in the office, and then we tie it together when that, both for the HCP and the consumer, after they finish up that appointment, they get either an email or they might see something, display ad or something like that. But we do a full funnel effect.
And from a measurement standpoint, there are plenty of different ways to measure. I'm sure everything that you guys work on, it's very different from measuring total sales or total orders, all the way down to the URL level tracking. So talk to me a little bit about the components of a measurement strategy and what needs to be there, and speak to it from a level of broadness to all the way down to this URL level.
I can kick that off. I love this topic. At its core, we got to always be pushing for us to take our media metrics and connect them to business outcomes. That's sometimes we miss that very critical gap. Measurement systems, a lot of them, we're kind of in a state right now and in a flux where IDs and privacy have deprecated our traditional systems of measurement. So some of that's broken, but I want to stress that I don't think that we're back into the dark ages of programmatic media. We have a lot of tool sets that have come up, AI tools. MMMs has been a common topic. They've become significantly cheaper. I've got a client that looks at a monthly MMM, which is driving us crazy, but it provides them with some security of an ROI on a regular cadence rather than once or twice a year. One thing that I'm really bullish on, I think that the future of programmatic will be the intersection of effective and efficient media buying as it intersects with market research. I think programmatic teams, as an industry, can easily pivot into becoming market researchers, and I would love to see that happen, right? Where we're using we're taking all of the brand studies that are available, the Upwaves, the Lucids, and perhaps taking it steps further and taking those panels and having panels of actual people to validate that. So the tool sets are there. We just, and depending on what a client's goals, there's a lot of interesting things that can be done there.
I would say from the partnership perspective, we've really done a lot of work to invest in building out reporting systems, making sure we're understanding from broadly in the supply, who are we spending with, what formats are we spending the most in, what does that pricing look like, understanding the savings we're able to generate for our clients broadly, understanding our different data partners, who are we using, who are we spending the most with, are we spending more with them just because their pricing is a little bit higher, and are there any fine-tuning and partnerships we can strike up to help there. And then especially in our CTV right now, we're also looking at who's driving the different spend across partners and what is the right mix, not just broadly, but also how can we have account-specific conversations to say, how do we customize this approach and make it more client-centric?
Evan, let's stick with you for a moment. I'm curious, what are some tool sets that we should be evaluating now in this advanced age of AI?
It's a great question. At Horizon, we're building out our own AI platform, so that's something we're really focused on and making sure we're partnering with the best, and that doesn't always mean the biggest. It just means who can provide the most innovation of the direction we're looking to for our clients across the portfolio. I would say even we're working at the micro level as well, and we have a lot of really helpful AI courses that our company's investing in so that each individual can learn how to utilize AI to make themselves more efficient in their emails and their everyday. So looking at a macro of AI tools, but also at the micro to make the individual more efficient and effective as well.
Oh, I love that. It's a top-down, bottoms-up approach. Anything to add here?
Yeah, I think we are obviously looking at AI too, How we're looking at it is really how can it optimize our daily tasks that we just are necessary evils that we don't really like to do. How can it make our billing easier? How can it do things like that? So we're definitely implementing that and throughout a bunch of processes across the agency, which has been great to see.
Seems like we're on track to like blow out that AI
I'm trying.
word today. Like, so
I'm trying to win. the
let's say it a few
contest.
more times. So I think the AI tools that are helping to manage and look at high volume of campaigns in the DSPs across platforms are coming of age, right? And so these are tool sets that are going like will help make sure that pacing's on track, that campaigns are not running out of geo, right? Flags, and we're building this internally, but there's also tool sets like a couple of companies that we've explored recently. One is called Atomic Ads. There's another one called Guideline, I believe, AI. Right? These tools are designed to keep your campaigns and give you a quick glimpse of are you pacing, are you in geo, are you have the right metrics appended, are you underspending? Those tools that are going to help, one, keep clients' budgets on track and performance on track at a single like centralized view.
Okay, so before we were chatting, by the way, AI. You mentioned you were interested in getting a little spicy, so I'm
Let's
curious
do it.
here.
Let's do it.
Um,
Gloves off.
let's talk about try your best to take out any personal biases that you may hold, and tell us from a in-house perspective what should be in-housed versus what should be out-housed.
Ooh, this is a job security question. Let me think about this for a second. No, I mean, I think there's so much time and work that goes into executing a good plan. And agencies have the leverage, right, across buying platforms. DSPs are trying to find more pockets of revenue, trade desk, right? There's so many costs associated. So I think continuing to lean on the agencies for all the buying mechanisms and that leverage makes sense to continue there. I think in-house, like the strategy and the building, right? There's so many times when we'll get a brief from a client, and there's no substance to it. There's just a few lines. So I think building out strategy and planning in brand will help us do our job more effectively. And even whether it's market research, there's a lot of work to be done there itself. Getting a clear understanding of who the target audience is, so we have a very clear. It's not ambiguous, as it usually comes out.
I think now that the programmatic shift has officially launched off, and our programmatic chops are continuously evolving, we do have the opportunity to bring a lot of curation in-house, building our own marketplaces, curating marketplaces that are very unique to specific clients' needs and goals. So I think my answer there is definitely curation.
I would think that you need to make sure when you're looking at what can be in and what can be out, you're always keeping as much in as possible when it comes to things like strategy or when it comes to things like the human optimization levers, because it's hard enough within an agency to have enough broken down silos to have communication, so it gets really tricky when you take things out of house, because then you're just creating more barriers to collaboration. So that's something that I would not necessarily say what we're looking to do, but what I would warn against from some of my previous experiences.
I used to have a client years ago where we would jump on status calls, and about 5 minutes into the call, they would start fighting all internally, and the VP would be just like, shh, and we just listen to them fight. So I'm not sure if that's common across in-house where there's a lot of fighting going on, but.
Yeah, show of hands. How many fights have we seen happen over Zoom? Well, not as many as I would have thought. I think you're just hiding it. Everyone should have their hand up, right? Okay, so talk to me specifically from a programmatic team perspective. What's the structure of a strong programmatic team look like? Tell me, what are the must-haves on that team?
Well, we just went through a huge reorg to figure that out. We decided that the way that our team was currently structured, and a buying and a planning team, was not effective as we were scaling. So we took the time and was strategic and waited till after Q4 and everything was launched, and we spent all of first half not just reorging into different teams with different managers on different accounts, but we also said we're going to break down the silos of those buying and planning teams, and we decided the best thing to do was to change everybody's roles and responsibilities, and that's very tough to have that kind of large-scale change management, where you have traditional planners who are now needing to set up campaigns, and you're having people who are behind the desk with their hoodies up in Excel for their entire career, and now we're throwing them into client conversations and trying to have them be more of that strategic lead, because we felt that what would be the best way for us to scale and shape the future of our practice was allowing people to have that hands-on keyboard experience in the beginning of their career, and then from that experience they'll have, they can be that strategic lead. So that took a lot of collaboration and trust in not just our leadership, but within the organization and our team ourselves, to be able to manage that huge change and still keep everything going for all of our clients. And we're seeing the results of that now, where we're winning new business, we're able to seamlessly take things on, and we're really seeing people succeed, and we're able to support that team and do a lot of really exciting promotions to elevate everybody to where they needed to be. So it takes some big changes to kind of set yourself up, but it's really worth it if you take the time to invest.
Evan, any watch outs that you can share from that? What mistakes can you share if someone's thinking about going through a similar reorg, right-sizing the team? Like, what's one thing you learned in that process that maybe could have gone better?
I think what could have gone better is just making sure everybody knew that it was okay to feel chaotic. I think when we were a little bit further into the process, there was some concern of people are, still feeling very, like there's a time to build up confidence. That takes time, that takes repetition. So I think people felt like they were supposed to feel like they had it all together at a certain point. And when you took a step back and did some research on what change management looks like within an organization, we were only 3 months into a 6-month process. And it's okay that you're still needing another training on how to set up a campaign. It's okay that you feel a little unsure and you need a little bit more support. So I think just making sure everybody felt that they were on the right track as much, and just doing more of that reassurance.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think we all operate here in a world of relatively controlled chaos, and when that starts to move over into just utter chaos, is the red flag that you're looking for. But yeah, I think it is important, just like your reorg, to push people out of their comfort zone, and we did that ourselves as well, right? And new challenges, and I think people don't initially like that, but if it's done and managed well, it's rewarding because it opens their eyes to areas that they've never done, whether it's more client facing or more strategy or more planning or we're used to running all our buys in DSPs, but sometimes we have to cut an IO. Just process of figuring out how to write an IO is can be foreign to a lot of us.
Yeah, it's almost like we work at the same agency. So I think
Come on over.
a lot of it was training. We're having to bring people that were traditionally managed service facing into the programmatic world. So it's about giving them that baseline training knowledge to have conversations with vendors about programmatic strategies, so they can still support a programmatic first enterprise strategy and be a part of that.
Thank you. Okay, last question before we kick it off to you guys for Q&A. What's one investment? Everybody's going to walk away with one thing that we say here. What is one investment, either people, process, platforms? What do we need to invest in today to be successful in the future?
I think it's a mix of people and process. we're very process-oriented people at Horizon, so we always start with what's the process, what's the best practice, so you can fall back onto that when you need a place to start. But it's 100% the people. You have to invest in your people, support your people, elevate them, and invest in the training for them, because those are the people that are going to work hard and really take that extra time, and you have to support them so they care. And there's so much that goes into making sure that that team camaraderie and they feel valued for the hard work that they do.
Yeah, I'll also take the OG people approach. You know, we're still living in this world of like post-pandemic years. And many of the junior managers who started their careers have a very different perspective on the industry than you know, people who've been in the industry for years. Maybe not 19, but you know, more than 4 or 5. And their way of interaction and communication is vastly different. And the approach that I see happening now is trying to force them into the old way of doing things. And I think that's wrong. I think we need to adapt to how they process and help, you know, and many of them are not comfortable communicating directly or face to face. So I think that's the immediate like urgency. It's like, it's okay to go jump on a call. It's okay to turn on your camera. It's okay to get a little bit angry if you have to.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's go to some audience Q&A. Erin Gunnar Stepson.
I am Sean Edwards, ex-Varus. I spoke yesterday. One of my questions, you just talked about doing a whole reorg of an organization from planners and buyers. This is something that I deal with almost every day in terms of, you know, just everyone's education. What is the most efficient? I feel like I just answer a million questions all day long. So obviously a reorg is such a huge step. Like, what was those beginning conversations? And then what kind of education had to happen with more of probably the planning teams to really grasp the programmatic aspect of it all?
Well, I think it was a few things. We had a lot of work on our leadership team of making sure that they knew what they wanted to do before they told everybody about it, so that way it was as organized as possible. I think we gave everybody a strong why. Why are we doing this? What is the end goal? We understand this is going to be difficult. We're here to support you. And a lot of the work that I did is really pushing our partners to support. You know, for them, they were still working on the same accounts. Nothing changed for our partners who were, you know, on our auto account for the same years. They had all that information. So I really pushed on our partners to, as somebody moved from vertical to vertical, to support and educate and be that resource for our team as they were kind of stepping into a little bit of an unknown. And then we also leaned on all of our partners to have bottoms-up training where we brought in the trade desk, we're bringing in Google, we're bringing in all of our DSPs, and we're starting with how do you pull a report and how do you make an audience? And everybody is invited to those meetings. We get the whole team together from top and down, from the assistants to the VPs, and we sit together and we say, let's relearn this together. Let's make sure we're all starting from the same playing field of education. And like I said earlier, we're doing that again. We're not just saying that we did it one time and we have the recording and you're kind of left to your own devices to figure that out. We're saying we need to come back and retrain and really have that repetition to make that muscle memory.
Last question over here.
Hello there, Steve Moynihan with Swim. So I advise a lot of early stage technology companies. And Evan, you mentioned that you guys are big fans of RFIs. Just because I know there's a lot of early stage technology companies in this room, what is the best way for them to get on your radar screen? Because you guys are so busy, you already have your existing partners. Like, how does somebody get like time and attention from you guys to, because there's a lot of really cool new technology out there. How do you guys become aware of all that?
That's a great question. I think it depends. I love a referral. Usually there's somebody either internally within the team and they say, we met with this person, they're great. I want to pass this over to the partnerships team now to do a further evaluation. We love when our team comes to us and says, we love working with this partner and we had good success. How do we bring that over? Also, events like these is how we can meet somebody that we haven't met before. But I think it either comes from internally from the bottom of our programmatic team or from leadership who've had an interesting meeting. I have to say, as you know, as transparently, we get a lot of emails, so it is really hard to break through, and you have to really prioritize that inbox when you have a lot going on. So in person, I think, is the best way, but always coming with results and coming with the case studies of this is how we've worked before, and having the research done of knowing who my clients are and making sure you're speaking directly to that, so we're having the most efficient conversation from the get-go.
Yeah, just to kind of build on that a little bit. Yeah, what grabs my attention is not when an email comes in and it's just like, hi, I'd like to schedule some time. We're the best company in the world. You should be working with us. Like I said earlier, put some skin in the game. It's easy to figure out who our general clients are. Take 1 or 2 clients and create something that puts some time into it. And say, look, I built this using our platform. This is for your client. I did half the work for you. Look at it.
Yeah, I think customization goes a really long way. And just understanding what are your differentiators right off the bat, I think is huge.
Excellent. Evan, Art, Nick, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate.
you.
Thank you,
Thanks
Media
everybody
Post.
for the great questions.